Thank you for tuning in to the best parenting show on the internet, Post Daily Dose.
It's the Post. It's the Post. It's the Post. The Post Daily Dose. It's the Post. It's the Post. It's the Post. The Post Daily Dose. It's the Post. It's the Post.
Hey, good morning, Facebook family. Welcome to another episode of Morning Motivation with Big Papa. Today is Terrific Thursday. Terrific Thursday, baby. We've already almost made it through another week. So let me ask you a question. Are you working against yourself? Do you ever wonder if maybe, even though you've got goals and motivations and objectives and all these things that you want to do, these dreams, hopes, desires, but in fact you're working against yourself and you would never imagine, you know why? Because you're working against yourself emotionally. You're working against yourself unconsciously. You're working against yourself by creating a vibration that is not in alignment with what your goals and your hopes and your dreams are. It's so interesting because I had this exchange with one of my Lovevolution parents yesterday. Well, she sent me an email, and it was a short little paragraph. She just had a question, but there were so many incongruencies. Oh, these people walking in this dark with gray hoodies on. We're almost dang near in the middle of the road. She made so many incongruencies in her statement, and it was so interesting because I don't think she was aware. I mean, parents don't seek me out to keep doing the same thing, even though a lot of times we do the same thing. We really want to do something different, but it just reminded me of how we are unconsciously working against ourselves. Even though we have the best intentions, the best motivations, we're working against ourselves because of the vibration we're creating, because of an unconscious belief system. I'm doing some business consulting with a clinic right now, and they're working against themselves. The ownership is working against itself. Their actions are not in alignment and are not congruent with what their goals and their motivations are. And so it's just interesting, and I have to ask myself, am I working against myself sometimes? By taking on too many projects and not giving any one project its full attention, its full focus. And am I working against my goals? So I think it's important for us to take inventory of what the reality is for, in our day-to-day lives and our day-to-day belief systems. If your child is behaving a certain way and let's say you're being kind and gentle, but really unconsciously you're feeling put up on and resentful, you're working against yourself. If your goal is to, save $50,000, but then you go and you buy, your car's 5 years old and you go and buy a new car, you're working against yourself. If your goal is to get a promotion at work, but you show up late to work just one day in the week, or you slack off in the work you're supposed to be doing, you're working against yourself. What are the varying ways that you work against yourself? And remember, this is, perhaps up until this conversation, those things have been unconscious, and they've been not intentional. You haven't been conscious that you're working against yourself. It hasn't been intentional, but it's unconscious, and a lot of times it's emotional. And so it's just something I want you to think about today, because I believe that when you become fully aware of those subtle resistances that you have, and not even fully aware, just mildly aware of those subtle resistances that you have that are getting in the way of some of your hopes and goals and dreams, then what's going to happen is you're actually going to put a crack in the dam that's going to bring you closer to having just a torrential downpour of what it is you've ultimately been attracting into your life. Good morning, Layla. I feel like so many times we're so close to getting all that we want, having all that we want, being all that we want, all that we desire, all that we dream of. But there are small little things that are actually huge things, like these little unconscious belief patterns and resistances and conditioning and habits that have us actually working against ourselves. Think about that today. Give that some thought, because I think you'll be surprised at the very subtle, silent little resistances that you have. They're not loud. It's not loud, it's not obvious. But it's the silent little resistances, and I think it really shows. For me, it's like, because I've started over the years, probably the last 10 years, paying so much attention to the words I use and the words other people use, because our thoughts oftentimes become words, oftentimes become reality. I feel like it really becomes more obvious. So give that some thought today. Ask yourself this morning, am I working against myself? And how might I be doing that? And how can I become more aware so that I'm not? That's it. Go out and have a terrific Thursday, gang. Big Papa loves you. Tomorrow's fantastic, fabulous, freaking fabulous Friday. Go crush it today. Be amazing. Be your highest, most loving, most passionate, most understanding, most patient and enlightened self today. We'll see you tomorrow.